Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Red, White, and Blue Zone. Today, we're going to be taking a look at next year's midterms. We're going to be looking at the recent end of the government shutdown and a bit more post-election breakdown. So today is November 11th. As of today, the Senate has voted to reopen the government. They voted to pass that clean resolution that was originally being held up. And what this is going to do, it's going to go back to the House. The House will inevitably vote to pass it. Um, and the government will reopen. This is going to, fix all the problems that have basically been dominating the news for the last month. We'll see SNAP benefits come back, air traffic reopen, workers come back. And the catalyst for this was that the Senate Democrats, led by Chuck Schumer, my home state senator, they were blocking the clean resolution from getting through with the filibuster. So there's 53 Republicans in the Senate, 45 Democrats, and two independents who caucus with the Democrats. That being Bernie Sanders and if I can remember the name of the other one, uh, uh, Angus King. Yeah, Angus King. Angus King, Bernie are independent. So Democrats were holding up the filibuster. John Fetterman was already voting with Republicans to reopen the government, but the nail in the coffin was a group of Senate Democrats, specifically eight. This includes Fetterman, Maggie Hassan from New Hampshire, Janine Shaheen from New Hampshire, Angus King, that independent from Maine, Dick Durbin, Catherine Cortez, Jackie Rosen, and Hillary Clinton's vice presidential nominee, Tim Kaine from Virginia. They all went to John Thune, they went to the Senate Republicans, and they agreed that they will vote to pass this clean resolution in exchange for furloughed workers being rehired and a promise that healthcare voting will be brought up at some point in the future. So what does this mean? What are the implications? Well, the first implication is that it's completely clear that the Democrats never cared whatsoever about SNAP benefits or about the people. They just wanted to keep the government shut down from a PR perspective for them, which sucks to see, but it's just the truth. The fact that Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer are now fighting to keep the government shut down really just shows their perspective on it. It sucks to see it. These Democrats who have voted to reopen the government, they're doing the right thing, especially for their voters. Someone like Tim Kaine, who all his constituents, many of them are federal workers. They all live in Virginia. That's a state that relies on D.C. For jobs. And a state like New Hampshire, very purplish state. So it's clear why those senators have done that. While someone like Chuck Schumer normally wouldn't have to worry about getting primaried, now he has to worry about getting primaried since it seems that his party is pissed with him. If you noticed after last week's election, the Democrats had this huge burst of momentum. All the news dominated by the blue wave or their sweep and everything, even though I'm not calling it a blue wave. And there's no reason to call it a blue wave when Democrats won in blue cities and blue states. It's just what happens. Yes, their turnout was high, but it wasn't a wave. It's not like they had any big upset victories. So in the aftermath of that election, last week's election, Schumer thought he had won. He thought that the shutdown had given him that one up to use over the administration. And if you saw that he put out that press release saying that he was going to go to the White House and speak with the president on how he could end the GOP's shutdown. And well, that pissed off President Trump a lot, if you couldn't tell. And he demanded that the filibuster just be ended entirely, so that way the Republicans could shut the government down. Now, the filibuster that requires 60 votes in the Senate to get any legislation through, it can be blocked by the minority party. Chuck Schumer was calling for the same thing a year ago. Before the 2024 election, Chuck Schumer wanted the Democrats to end the filibuster. That way they could pack the courts. That way they could make Puerto Rico and D.C. states so they could get 4 more senators to be permanently in the Senate, and then basically lock Republicans out of the majority for a while and do whatever the heck they wanted to the government, which is extremely hypocritical considering the way they're talking now. But Republicans were starting to muse with the idea of ending the filibuster now. Maybe they'll put that on hold since it seems like the government will reopen, even though it might end up having to close again in January. We'll see about that. But the important thing here is that the Democrats have no more momentum. Instead of celebrating Zoran's big win or wins in Jersey and Virginia, now They're just complaining about how much they hate Chuck Schumer, how much he needs to be primaried, how spineless he is, how old he is, and all that momentum from last week has just dissipated between good PR stories for Republicans like Trump's been now really tackling affordability this past week, which is a good thing seeing out of the election when the announcement of the tariff-based stimulus checks, which whether you like them or not, they're pretty good from a PR standpoint. I don't know how you feel about the 50-year mortgages, but you know, Trump is really looking at affordability right now. Well, Democrats' big stories are that Nancy Pelosi is retiring and that Chuck Schumer is now being begged to retire. Maybe someone like AOC will look to primary him. It's clear that Cory Booker will almost certainly be the minority or majority leader come after 2026 when he wins his reelection. Chuck shouldn't be doing this anymore, even though I would love to see him keep doing this and keep making a fool out of the Democratic Party. But most Democrats, especially the new wave, as I'd like to call them, the Mamdani followers, the AOC followers, the Bernieites, they want Chuck Schumer out. Yeah, but Democrats have lost that momentum they had saved up last week. We're back to an even playing field pretty much, which I was saying to friends of mine. It was just like, I know we didn't get the wins we wanted, but they're going to make themselves look like idiots. It's what they always do. They're the Democratic Party, after all. So now let's look ahead to next year. Let's look at the 2026 Senate elections. Now, I'm going to do 3 videos on this. We're going to do Senate, we're going to do governors, we're going to do the House. For today, this is just the Senate map. Now, as you can see here, they have 4 states that they believe can go either way. I do pretty much agree with this mostly. This is similar to the map Red Eagle Politics did. Texas, it's going to be safe red. There's no way it flips. Nebraska, yeah, it's safe. Florida's safe. Ohio is in danger. Vivek is going to be the gubernatorial candidate. I'll have more on that in the governor's video. But I don't think he's going to drag the rest of the ticket down whatsoever. I think his electability, like Red Eagle said, his electability may not be as good as we think it is, but he shouldn't drag down the rest of the ticket, even if the Ohio Republican Party can't get its stuff together. Now, Maine. Maine is going to be the one to watch, according to me, because the Democratic primary has not wrapped yet, but it seems very likely that Graham Plattner will be winning their primary. Now, if you're not familiar with Graham Plattner, he has been all over the news for the past few weeks, kind of really shows what the modern new wave, as I'm calling it, of the Democratic Party is. He has made some disgusting posts on social media that I will not repeat here. You can look them up for yourself. Mainly on Reddit. He has also been, pictures of him have been posted with a certain tattoo on his chest, which is eerily similar to a logo that would have been worn by, let's just say, soldiers of the German government in the 1930s and 40s. So yes, he is not doing great, but he's endorsed by Bernie Sanders, and pretty much the mainstream media did a decent enough job of covering up these scandals of his. So it seems like he'll win the Democratic primary, and it's kind of another Jay Jones situation. Will the Democrats vote for a very morally bankrupt person? Are they going to do that in Maine like they did in Virginia? So we'll see about that, but I don't think he ends up winning. Maine, it's not a deep blue state. It's not also not a purple state, but I don't see someone like him winning. Michigan, though, it's going blue. Like, there's just no way it doesn't. That's just Michigan at this point, especially in a year like 2026. There's a Republican in office. They're not electing. I mean, if you had a great candidate, I know the Republicans are running the 3 mics in Michigan, North Carolina, and Georgia, but even with a great candidate against a bad Democrat, I don't think the Republican wins in Michigan. That's just, I know Trump won in 24, but that's, I feel like, a special time. I don't think Michigan goes Republican that often for the next decade at least. North Carolina, I'm going to give this to the Republicans. I just think it still has a big enough base. It's going to come down to turnout. Same with Georgia. I think Georgia goes blue. But I don't see, if Republicans run a good campaign everywhere, put up the right candidates everywhere, do good fundraising, we have nothing to worry about. And if you see here, The way it will end is 53-47, the same it is right now. Um, so yeah, Republicans have a much higher ceiling than Democrats for this specific Senate election. House is obviously a different story, but as far as Senate goes, Republicans don't have much to worry about. Even if Democrats get really lucky and win North Carolina and win Maine, Republicans still have the majority. And even, let's say, some way, somehow, they manage to flip Ohio, then it's 50-50. And then Republicans will have, the Vance vote as tiebreaker and still the majority. So Republicans really do not need to be worrying about the Senate. It's just going to come down to candidates. It's going to come down to scandals. If the Republicans could stay scandal free, and it's going to be the economy. If the economy is in a very rough state, that's maybe when you could see not a Democrat but an independent win in a state like Nebraska. Maybe a Democrat somehow squeak it out in Iowa. It would suck if it's so bad that a Democrat can win in Texas, because Texas should have two Republican senators and it should stay that way for a while. But I don't see that happening. I don't know if the economy gets better, but I don't see it getting bad enough that Democrats sweep the Senate. The House is obviously another story, um, but we'll get there when we get there. Today is just about talking about the end of the shutdown, momentum, etc. So yeah, we are a year out from the election still. I'm going to be doing these sets of three videos, Senate, House, gubernatorial. I'm going to do three of each for 1 year, 9 months, 6 months, 3 months, and then of course, a few the week of. Um, just kind of see how it changes over time. The House is going to be the election to watch for next year, though, because the Senate, they're really. It's not like you're going to see a Democrat be competitive in a Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, or a Republican be competitive in Minnesota, Illinois, Colorado, Oregon, New Mexico, Virginia, Jersey. Like Cory Booker isn't going to be in danger of losing his seat. We could, however, see like a New Hampshire in a good year for Republicans. New Hampshire goes red. Um, like it's entirely possible. Um, Same with where's New Hampshire? Yeah, Janine Shaheen. She's not running for re-election. New Hampshire could, not Massachusetts, but New Hampshire could go red. We know Ohio's going to be red. So on a map like this, that's 54 for Republicans. Maybe Republicans manage to pull it off in Georgia. They managed to win Georgia. And by the glory of God, we managed to win Michigan. And look at that, 56-44. Now, how likely is that to happen? Not that likely. But I'd say that has the same level of possibility as Democrats winning a majority, is Republicans getting that huge majority like that. Um, yeah, so these are the ones considered safe, which don't make sense. Yeah, but John Cornyn will almost certainly be winning re-election. Yeah, it's J.D. Vance's seat. Husted's going to be able to pull that off. So Shaheen retiring, I could totally see New Hampshire having the chance to flip red. Um, well, North Carolina, Tillis isn't running, but I see it staying red. Minnesota, it's not going to flip red. Um, Michigan, yeah, Gary Peters is retiring. It's possible, but I doubt it. um, but yeah, that's the Senate. Now that the shutdown is over, I think the Democrats just make themselves look worse and worse uh, with every minute, basically. If we just think about the way they've been treating the shutdown, oh, it's the GOP shutdown, it's all their fault, they're heartless, they don't care about SNAP benefits and healthcare, and like really now though, now that people in your own party are apologizing, like all the moderates in your own party in the Senate need to cut. Tim Kaine, who's a highly respected member of the Democratic Party, has to come out and apologize to his voters and the American people for keeping the government shut down. Same with I know Democrats don't respect John Fetterman that much anymore, but the fact that you have senators openly apologizing and calling the shutdown a complete and total failure, that really does sum it up. Um, and kind of some other quick stories. Supreme Court is not going to look at the Obergenfell versus Hodges. I probably mispronounced that, but that's the case that made same-sex marriage legal throughout on a federal level. That's a good thing for Republicans because if the Democrats have been fear mongering about that for about the last year, pointing to things Clarence Thomas said back in 2021 when they overturned Roe v. Wade, and they've been fear mongering, oh, Republicans going to take away same-sex marriage, and it got to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court just said, nope, we're not even going to look at this because we're not going to overturn it. And that's good for Republicans because, you know, now Democrats can't fearmonger about that, and the ones who have been fearmongering about that for the last year, they don't look good. Same with Loving v. Virginia. Democrats have been saying that the Supreme Court is going to overturn Loving v. Virginia, which, if you're not familiar, that's the case that made interracial marriage legal, which no one in their right mind would ever vote to overturn that. And like when you ask them, oh, why do you think that? It's like, oh, just look at what Clarence Thomas has said about the reasoning. It's like, Clarence Thomas, say what you will about him. He's married to a white lady. I don't see him overturning interracial marriage anytime soon. Um, so yeah, that's the big news from the Supreme Court. Supreme Court also had a few other rulings on tariffs, which could come into play. We'll see. Tariffs seem to be one day they're popular with Republicans, the next day they're unpopular. Uh, well, we're going to see how that goes. I think if in a few months they're really not working, we don't get those dividend checks we've been promised, the debt is still going up. The administration needs to have a serious talk about. Um, they need to have a serious talk about are tariffs working. Like, I think it's time to have that discussion because we are, uh, 10 months into this term now, and the economy, not sure if you can tell, it's not doing great. I mean, yeah, egg prices are down, other grocery prices are might be down a bit, gas prices are um, down, which is always good to see. But the economy as a whole isn't doing great. Like just because the market's up doesn't mean that it means 401ks might be getting richer, but overall, not everything is. And yeah, the Democrats are over fear mongering about things like the tariffs and like uh, how they're going to, destroy people's retirement savings. But if you notice that most of the time they're kind of just making this stuff up with little to base it on. I mean, yesterday I heard someone going off about how Republicans are destroying Social Security. I don't know if you ever heard Donald Trump talk about Social Security, but he loves Social Security and he won't touch it with a 10-foot pole because he's smart enough to know that as soon as someone puts their finger on Social Security, their approval rating is going to drop by 15 to 20% because you do not touch Social Security, even if you need to. That's just the rule of modern day politics. Well, that's going to do it all for today, I believe. Thanks for watching the Red, White, and Blue Zone. Hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I'll be back with you in a few weeks, a few days maybe. We'll see. Thank you very much.